Jay.
Kevin, how are you?
You hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just had my volume down.
Oh, very good.
Can you hear birds chirping in the background?
I cannot.
Good. Okay, the mic's okay.
All the stuff you want, none of the stuff you don't.
Yeah.
You sound clear and unbackgrounded.
Good. Oh man. I should probably push back check-ins on Wednesday maybe a little bit because they're edge up against the web monitoring meeting.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Dan. Got me unstuck like half an hour ago. So I'm like, I can do something.
Yeah, that's great. Oh yeah. No, it's cool. I'm good gravy. Hey, Gretchen. I think Rob might not show up because he's at this Internet Archive event today.
Oh, right. It's October. They're having their big thing.
Yeah.
Is that today?
I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's today the 3rd.
Yeah, it is. Okay. I didn't realize. I knew that was in October, but my brain wasn't tracking the date. Well, then this might be it. Thank you for mentioning that. Because Rob said he was going to be out. So.
I mean, we could wait a minute, but I think we'd be okay to start with that.
Yeah. Let's go and wait till 5 after. I know sometimes Tully will drop in.
Yeah.
Although.
And Gretchen looks like she's still on the move, trying to find.
Sorry for the up close of my ear. It's so loud trying to hear you guys, but then I realize that I'm just showing my ear.
It's okay. The wonders of technology.
It's an ear that we know.
Yeah.
That's a familiar ear.
Yeah.
That's a good ear.
Okay.
Well, it's 5 after now, so let's go ahead and jump into this. So let's go ahead and start with Gretchen's analyst updates.
Great. Let me not get hit. Drivers here. Pedestrians do not have the right of way in London. It's like, just, I thought I'd share that. Things are chugging along. There's not too much to report as far as this meeting goes. We're still working on streamlining domains. I really want people to provide their input on their own assessment of, kind of what priority level the domains that they're currently monitoring are. And until we have that feedback from everybody, I don't feel like we can kind of streamline yet. Anyway, so that's, it wouldn't change the amount, the pages that we're, that we're bringing in from Internet Archive, but it would change kind of the list of what we are actively watching or not.
That makes sense.
And then the only other, this is kind of, I don't even want to take up time in the meeting, but I was intrigued by what you said, Jason, about kind of search actions, and thought maybe we could put on like a far back burner, is there something feasible to do with kind of trying to investigate? I don't know if you guys can hear me over the siren, sorry.
Yeah, we actually can hear you surprisingly well.
Okay. What, if it would be feasible or useful to, kind of look at how, has there been any change to both kind of search functions that are embedded within pages, and also if pages are indexed differently, and so how they might show up on different, Google searches. But that's kind of, I understand capacity, and that would be a way back burner issue, but just wanted to raise it. And then later on under miscellaneous, I raised the science to action, wanting to have a little discussion on science to action stuff. But that can cover it under miscellaneous.
Kevin, I meant to ask this at the start, but could you be our note taker?
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't even think about it. Okay, dev updates. The big thing that's been done since our last week's meeting was Gretchen and I got that report in for the first year of AWS credits. I was kind of stuck on my dev things that I really had my brain on last week, so I just did a good hunk of that because it was something I could do. Last week was I did not meet, this is actually the first week since I started that I didn't meet my hours goals at all. So that's actually something I don't know if I need to talk to somebody on the back end contract wise about that. But basically I had been working on log shipping, trying to do it in a local Kubernetes environment since I didn't have since I couldn't get an AWS kube environment to work. And that was I was really having trouble getting that to play happily and work on Windows. Haven't really had any trouble with Docker on Windows, but it's kind of a different executable that does a very similar thing to the Docker Windows setup. So it's called Minikube. It's like the official Kubernetes local dev thing. But so happily, I'll just switch back to AWS and forget about that for now. That's something I'll have to come back around to if we do want to set up some nice, here's how to run the whole thing locally. Minikube or something like it, I think will be our way to do that. And then Dan just got me unblocked on this load balancer thing. So I'm going to go back to basically, hey, can we get through a whole other kube deployment in our current AWS setup? And I've already made a lot of progress. I've got everything but the DB working in the kube test now. So that just has a lot more stuff that you have to configure correctly to get it to come up. So I'm not surprised that that's the sticky wicket. So I'm not blocked on anything. And really, I didn't put this into the up next, but really the big thing, other than getting our deployment stuff fixed, is our upcoming scanner talk at Edgy. And it sounds like there's been some continued discussion over what it is that they're looking for.
Yeah, do you want to just move into that?
Yeah, let's just jump right into that.
Yeah, I can quickly lead. So this is part of Jason's monthly update, and I guess it's we're just trying to figure out how to make that beneficial to everybody involved, not a waste of time and people actually getting a better understanding, because I guess it just hasn't been clear on either side, so it's nobody's fault. And then there's the question was asked, just what does the steering committee want to learn? And so Matt and Sarah both had some interesting suggestions. If you guys had a chance to take a look at that, Gretchen and Jason. Also, hi, Jevi, if you're listening in.
Hello.
Yeah, so there was talk about like demoing Scanner again, but then it seems like that's like it's been done to death already, so we don't need to do that. So I think it's more just like them trying to understand just like the dev, like how devs do their work, with kind of features that they're working on and challenges. I think challenges is like a big thing people want to like understand because things have always been slow progress, and so just trying to understand why that is or what roadblocks we face is helpful to understand. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think part of, because I can totally believe based on the last report I gave that it, that might have not been helpful for everyone in attendance.
Yeah.
And some of that, I think I was conflating a little bit the goals of that report with the update that I send to Stephanie.
Yeah.
Because I started out with something very detailed I wrote for that, for the grant piece. And she was like, whoa, no, like, let's get out of the ditches on this. Um, and be way more like a couple of bullet points. But I think this is probably the place to actually get into some detail.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have hey Rob? We're just talking about like the dev update tomorrow for the steering committee, Rob. Um, do you have kind of like a game plan so far, Jason, or what you're?
Well, I mean, I thought, and I need to update the minutes for today. Um, yeah, I thought it would be, you know, very easy for me to talk about, obviously the challenges that I've seen, at least since I've started, for this quarter, basically. Um, for me, at least, it's definitely been about getting a hold of the whole stack and the deployment piece, and the fact that we're, still that we still haven't gotten that deployment hurdle, is obviously the biggest single thing. Um,
I think one as like a just precursor foundation does it explain like the fact that we have like these three repos and just how they I'm pretty sure they have no understanding.
yeah,
They're
well,
never in GitHub, so like that kind of like we have three like big pieces might be really helpful to like just get them
yeah,
out.
I think that it would be, yes, useful to talk about that, and then also talk about what basically cloud providers the
Yes.
different pieces are
Yeah.
running on currently,
Yeah.
um, and
Because I don't
what
even understand that stuff.
Yeah,
and
I think even starting with the like kind of, people have heard this, but I think it might help to like frame or just start the discussion with this of like, this is what Scanner does. Like, Internet Archive takes pictures of these pages, and then like we pull them in, and Scanner like discerns if there's a difference or not, and like like just that kind of like really basic thing might actually be like the level that some people need to start at.
yeah, that, although that was like that's part of what I talked about last month. That was like a really quick bullet point thing, because I didn't want to, again, maybe that's where more explanation would be better. I, I I try not to get too much into the weeds there. I think that might have been the first thing I started with last month. But maybe that could be maybe that's a helpful recap thing to start with every time
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Just quickly, like just like what a couple sentences. But I think like breaking it down that it's like three projects
Mm-hmm.
would be very helpful because I don't think they understand that at all, like how it's separated. And then that can like lead into, because Sarah had the question of like, what is Internet Archive actually like using? Like why are they interested? And it's mainly like one section, like they don't have any interest in the DB and a little bit in the UI, but mostly in the different like the processing. And Rob, are you gonna? Do you feel like you'll show up tomorrow, or do you want to? Do you want to be involved? Yeah, because I mean, the that ETL from the IA. I don't know if you want to talk about that tomorrow, Rob, or if Jason can
There's
recap
nothing
enough.
to talk about. It's a giant pile of shit. I'm still trying to make it work well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no meaningful update on that.
Okay. But you have been able to test stuff like recently, right? Pull more stuff in over time.
Yeah, but there's nothing that's actually, from the steering committee perspective, it doesn't fucking work.
Okay.
I mean, I really don't know what else to say there that's meaningful for them. That's not just like the technical weeds.
Yeah.
There's no update.
Yeah.
The update is we're still working.
Yeah, we're still working on it. We can say that.
So I thought we were running on I thought that we had a branch that was firing that, was running every night and was able to get some stuff.
It works like shit. It's
Okay.
there. It's not anything that's reliable. That's why we haven't merged anything.
Right. Okay. Well, I feel like, let's see here. I'm just looking through here. I mean, I feel like these are all things I can talk about. It might be useful. Just looking through this list here. It might be useful to have a non-dev sort of look at what I'm planning on talking about. Like maybe I can go ahead and wrap up my proposed, like what I'm thinking about talking about. It might be useful to have somebody who's not a dev look at that and see if like, before I present tomorrow, see if it makes any sense to them.
I'm happy.
Well, I might take, President Trump is testing the national texting alert system now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Gretchen, I'll do that then. I'll just send you a draft via doc and see if that makes sense to you.
Cool.
So, and that's what I'll do basically right after we wrap up this meeting. Let's switch over to that. Kevin, did you have any other
No,
thoughts
I
you
think
wanted
that
to
makes
share
sense. Yeah, I think like touched on the couple aspects, and then you're gonna write something up, so I can look at it too.
Oh, yeah. I'll just send it out in chat or something. So, do you have any feedback from? Because you're at the last one, Kevin. Do you have any feedback on like sort of how I talked through things last time? Were there particular points that like were really unsuccessful?
I think even though we've demo scanned, just having it up so people can see it again, and I think I was thinking now like because the whole public demo thing and having like if we can maybe just share that like that login so for steering committee members or whatever so they can just go into it and just to see that it's a real thing. Sometimes we don't have to demo it again, like I just like just to see it, just to have it open would be nice, so you don't have to like click through everything again. It's just like here it is again, and just so it's not, so they have something to look at. I think that would be the only thing.
Okay, well, I did go ahead and got in, went ahead and got into Heroku and created myself a Rails user, so I have an account now. So I can do that.
Yeah,
I hadn't even been messing with any of the live stuff before. Previously, I was just only doing the local stuff or stuff I was throwing away.
Yeah, I mean, if it helps, like if I could be back up and like always jump in and screen share myself and get things working.
But now I do have something that is, a representative login on the real system. I could also do that on staging if that would be better. But sure. Yeah, because last time somebody asked that, and I was like, yeah, I don't even have an account for this stuff right now because that's not what I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Good point. I'll make sure to have that, be prepared to jump in and talk about things.
Yeah.
Because like I think that an obvious improvement like is being able to see have the resources from Internet Archive from Wayback Machine rendered in the side by side. Like that's a cool thing that people will understand. So.
Okay. Rob, do you want to go back to any of your updates if you want to talk about anything that you put into the notes?
Nope, send the note.
So Gretchen, you want to talk about the Science 2 Action Grant then?
I just wanted to bring it up for discussion. Are you guys familiar with the Science to Action grant?
I am
Um,
not.
And Rob says sort of. So I will find it after this meeting. I was working off of my phone and couldn't quite manage the Google Doc finding. But it's a proposal that basically deals with, so Science to Action is another organization that, and EDGI is a partner on this grant. That the gist of it is a proposal to identify the most vulnerable data sets, kind of in the vein of data rescue events, but specific, kind of topic specific, and then to do, I think, other forms of local archiving, maybe? I'm not really sure. But the main question is we've got about $30,000 coming to EDGI and no plan for it, like how to use that money. And so obviously it's got to align with the goals of the grant, which are sort of in flux a little bit, as the grant was written over a year ago, and so kind of priorities have changed and personnel have changed. Justin Schell is one of the main architects of the grant, and so he'd be the best person to talk to you about, like, what exactly is looking like the goals right now, because it was as I recall, it was a fairly vaguely written grant, so I think there's a lot of flexibility there. But it's, there's a lot of room for overlap with web monitoring goals and archiving goals, and so thinking about if we could, use that $30,000 for something that would be kind of a mutually beneficial purpose, we should definitely think about that and pitch it. Yeah, that's kind of the basic overview. And it's the actual proposal is in the EDGI shared Google Drive in the bookkeeping and fundraising folder. I can also go find it and paste it in, but if you want to see specifics on that. Any thoughts, kind of just based on that really, really brief overview?
I'd say my initial thought is that seems like it might be hunting for some more writing and reporting to do. Like, I'm, from my perspective at least, I'm just really thinking about how can we use the technical assets we have right now to their most focused and like their best extent. If we could, if there was some alignment there, if we could have it not be like another group of people, like if we could bring to bear more of somebody that we already have engaged in some way, that might be like less of less of a spin up startup cost.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any anticipation of like hiring someone with that money, or I don't think, but I don't know that. Although maybe that is kind of our most limited resource, is like, is personnel. So who knows? Anyway, take a look at the proposal and just give it a think. Because I think Justin Schell would appreciate support in figuring out EDGI's part of this, because it was so vague.
Yeah, I kind of don't think like just adding another person or more people right now would help. I feel like a big problem is there's like this existential crisis in multiple places, like figuring out what we want to do and prioritizing that, and then finding somebody to like work on prioritized tasks. But we're like, there's a lot of open questions about what people are doing. I think that's why Archiving Working Group has been spinning its wheels on this for a long time too, for the last couple of weeks, and it's written for mostly them. That's just my 2 cents.
if nobody has any thoughts about that, I had a thought, Gretchen, about the search thing that I'd be happy to sort of comment on, circle back around to. So the tricky thing about kind of like what I mentioned with search, like the tricky thing about that is it's really like what I had mentioned about like, oh, what if your action attribute changes on a search form? Like that's a thing, that's an invisible change, you know, under the code that could reflect something important. But, you know, that's really more of really just an indicator, because the flip side of that is, you know, stuff can change on the back end of a search system and with no change on the front end. So, you know, that's like a whole field of inquiry that people work on, is trying to understand what kind of results search engines are giving or search systems are giving. And that, you know, right now we've really been focused on the document aspect of things on the technical side. And I think that, I mean, that might be an interesting field of research for somebody, but I mean, that's a whole other can of worms, I guess, is my thought on that.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too, assuming, but I thought it was so intriguing. But okay, good to know. Not only back burner, but like not burner on.
Okay, well, if nobody has anything else, we're just coming up right on time. So this could be a good opportunity for everybody to jet. Okay.
Cool.
Well,
Thanks all.
thank you guys. Bye.
Okay, everyone. Bye.